Hi, my name is Matt, and on today's Cured by Nature show, we have a new episode of CBD oil success stories. A while back, I did a few great interviews and had no time to publish them, but all in good time, so here we go. This interview was with Tami Stringam. She is a national interventionist and life coach, and this is her personal testimony of CBD and medical marijuana. Now, if this is your first time watching, a word about us. Here at Cured by Nature, me, my wife, Ellie, and the whole Cured by Nature team help everyone learn more on how nature can help us become 100% healthy without the use of pharmaceutical drugs. We believe nature has the answer for most, if not all, of our ailments, and we are here to explore that. I invite you to subscribe, like, and share so more people can benefit from this knowledge. Now let's go to the interview. Hi, Tami. It's a pleasure to do this interview with you. Now, as far as I was reading, you have this amazing story with cannabis and CBD in particular. And, well, I'd like you to take over. Just, start at the beginning and tell me tell me the story.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be in this interview with you, Matt. It's fortunate to have a voice and be able to share it and share the knowledge that I've gotten from my own research and studies on cannabis and CBD and how it can really help and heal people. I'm an interventionist by trade, meaning I help people in crisis that are having trouble with mental health or substance abuse or gambling or any type of device that's keeping them out of their normal life and unable to manage it. I also do life coaching for people to get back on their feet and start a new life again. And through my years of being an interventionist, I have worked in treatment centers and watched people with addictions and with other problems just get loaded up with medication. They go to get help, and the help that's given to them here in America, it's always a pill. What pill can I take to fix things? And more times than not, it's multiple pills, because you don't just need one, you need two or three, and then you need another one to counteract those two or three so they don't hurt your tummy, and it's just crazy to me. So my story starts from in the healthcare industry. Back when I was younger, my family always had board and care homes to take care of the elderly. And their little niche in that industry was that they would help people who were in these nursing homes that were being fed bags full of medication to keep them in bed, to keep them quiet. Families were in fear that their elderly family members are dying, when really they're just heavily medicated with pharmaceuticals and pharmaceuticals that are contradicting each other. So they would come into our facility and in our home with our families, and they would begin detoxing off of these different meds, and they would come alive again. And as a young girl, I watched it myself. And as I grew older and started participating in the healthcare industry, it was bothering me all the time that, what is this? What's the root problem? Why aren't people getting down into what's really happening instead of just this quick fix of a pill? My journey led me into the drug and alcohol industry where I am now, and that's when I really started seeing a big problem of people getting a label, attaching themselves to that label, and then a bag full of medication to go with it. And in my opinion, Matt, and it's purely my opinion, I feel like street drugs or pharmaceuticals, I know there's a difference as far as moral aspects are concerned, but truly all an individual is doing is self-medicating. Whether they're buying their medication off the street or they're going to a doctor and getting it and taking too much of it or mismanaging it, everyone's trying to fix that broken thing inside of them, whatever it may be. And so I've watched people go into treatment, drug and alcohol treatment, on nothing and come out on 15 different pills for different things. And it really started bothering me to see that happening. I also started having a problem with people I was intervening on. It would be, I'm sorry, I live by an airport, so it might get kind of loud with the airplanes.
No worries.
Okay. So I would intervene on an individual that would need to go to treatment. For some reason, they would end up in my basement, detoxing, because either one, their insurance wasn't going to cover them for the facility, they needed more time to get authorized to be able to go into the facility, or there wasn't a bed available for them. And so I would have to bring them into my home, help them get better, wait for their bed, figure out, the scenario for them, whatever it might be. And every time that would happen, an addict, an alcoholic, whoever they were, would say, I need something, I need some marijuana. I need marijuana to get through this. Of course, I was raised Mormon, so we had very strong beliefs about substance abuse. I was also in the drug and alcohol industry, so how can I be giving someone marijuana when I had this, tiny little belief that all drugs were the same? So I started opening up more to it, and opening up more to the idea that, okay, how can this be so wrong? This cannot be the same as someone mixing up heroin in a needle and injecting it. It can't be the same as someone smoking crack or injecting meth into their veins. It's not. It's a plant, and right. It's straight from our Creator, and it's here for us for a reason. And before they made it illegal, so I started doing my own research on it. Like, okay, this has got to be something. I can either give this person a bunch of Tylenol PM to help them go to sleep, which is a chemical. I can give them Benadryl to keep them from having itchiness. I can give them all these things that are made by man, or I can concede and give them the marijuana that they want. It's a plant. So I started doing my own research, and I found out that, in America before, America was founded on hemp, which was growing naturally everywhere. And before they made everything illegal, our animals were eating these plants. And they had it inside of them. And then we would eat these animals and we would ingest it. So we were getting it anyways, whether we were taking it and smoking it or making it into a tincture, whatever we were doing, we were still getting the benefits of cannabis through our animals that were eating it naturally on the planet. Then that stopped in America, and nobody's had it for centuries now. Nobody's been able to have access to marijuana legally. Of course, we all have been able to illegally, but legally it's been quite a challenge. And think of all the humans that are suffering from all these different diseases and all these different conditions, and they don't have access to something that's completely natural, that's put here for us, just the same as a carrot is put here for us, or a watermelon, or a lemon tree. It was put here to provide for us. And so I changed my views very quickly and very strongly about it, because what I saw happen was people transforming. I saw people being able to get off of medications, get off of any hard drugs they were doing, and manage their suffering with the plant. And so I feel like I've become more of an advocate for it now. One of the first things that my husband and I did was we went to Oregon, where it was legally recreational, and we started doing health retreats for people where they could come and detox off of all these things they were on using cannabis and CBD mostly. A lot of people are still uneducated about the difference between THC and CBD. Mm-hmm. And that's another passion of mine, is to really help educate people that you can have the benefits of a marijuana plant, you can have the benefits of a hemp plant without having to use the THC part of it. You don't have to get high if that's what you're scared about, which it's not scary. I had someone ask me if they were going to hallucinate when they started having THC, and it just shows, I don't know about you over in the UK, but in America, when I was a kid, there were all these commercials showing people smoking marijuana and then killing their brother on accident, hallucinating, doing all these crazy things. So that's the brainwashing that happened for all of us here, is that, oh, if you do that, you're going to kill somebody, you're going to hallucinate, you're going to be out of control of yourself. And I just feel really passionate about educating people that that's not the case.
Yes, I know. That was the, anti-propaganda that was part of the making it illegal and unavailable for everybody, starting with the United States and then just going everywhere throughout the whole world. That was part of probably of the pharmaceutical game and their profits. Yeah,
absolutely.
And
so when we went to Oregon, I'm sorry, Matt.
No, no,
You
no.
want me to go ahead?
I just wanted to say that, and that's why we're here, you and I, doing this interview, and just letting people know that kind of revolution is happening, and we're changing this one step at a time, and it's happening. People are
Yeah.
starting to understand cannabis, are starting to understand different cannabinoids in the plant, what THC does, what CBD does, and so on and so forth. So this is very, very important. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So when we went to Oregon, we were doing retreats of 6 people each at a time, and they were coming to us with one girl that came on our first retreat was on 4 different antidepressants. 4 different kind, and I asked her, your doctor didn't take you off of one before he put you on another, or switch you or anything? And she said, no, what happens is I start building up a resistance to one, and so he has to add another. And of course I'm thinking, how responsible is that? Why isn't this doctor having her in a mental health situation where she can really deal with everything instead of adding more pills, adding more pills? Why aren't they having that conversation of, well, what's going on with you? What are you doing in your life? Are you using this medication in conjunction with therapy? Because when you get an antidepressant prescription, it says right there, this is to be used in conjunction with therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to only be used for a short period of time till you can get all that stuff under control that you're going through. People are on it for a lifetime, Matt, lifetimes, without handling that inner stuff, what's really going on.
Right.
And so what happened was we'd mapped out 7 days for a detox, meaning these people that were on heroin, Xanax, alcohol, meth, 7 days we wanted them to be in bed, laying down, recovering without any substance. Everyone turned over their medications. They got loaded up with CBD water that was used in America. It's called CBD living water, and it's nano particles of the CBD in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So they were getting like 5 bottles of those a day, at least 1,000 milligrams of CBD, whether it was in a tincture, an edible. They also had vapes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was researching is what's the best way to ingest it? Would it be smoking the CBD, vaping it, drinking it? What's the best way? Sublingual underneath your tongue. And so I just decided to incorporate all of them. Let's just do everything. You can smoke as much as you want. You can vape as much as you want. You can eat as much as you want. You can drink as much as you want. It's not going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it's going to help you. So we didn't really have any activities planned for the first week because we assumed everyone would be in bed. Like, I've watched people detox, and it's for many years in this industry, and it's pretty hardcore. Even with medication from a doctor, they're still having experiences. My experience in the past would be, they'd come into detox, the doctor would prescribe them meds, they'd start taking these meds. Some of them would hallucinate and have these horrible experiences, stomach problems, and it didn't happen with the CBD and the medical marijuana. It just didn't happen. Matt, it was on day 3. So we were planning out 7 days of them being in bed. On day 3, they're all getting up, walking around, asking what we're going to do. Can we go do something fun? And my husband and I were looking at each other like, wow, this is really great results. This is not what we expected. So our second trial run with the next group, we were anticipating another 7 days, but aware that it might be 3 days again, right? The same exact thing happened. 3 days later, everyone's feeling great. No nausea, no vomiting, no diarrhea, no fever, no chills, no sweating, no runny nose, nothing of the sort. Just a happy face and a hungry tummy and a rested body. That's what we were experiencing with them. And that absolutely made me get on the bandwagon where I have got to spread this around to as many people as I know. And, in the drug and alcohol industry, they consider it the gateway drug. And I think my most adamant statement that I make nowadays is it's an exit drug instead of a gateway drug. It's exiting for people out of this world that they're living in of addiction. Can I get a glass of water real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
Don't worry.
Am I talking too much?
No. Absolutely
Okay.
not. this is it. I'm supposed to be talking as little as possible, and you're supposed to be talking as much as possible. That's it. I'm trying to control myself by not, doing the chit chat in between, because this is an interview and I'm supposed to give you short questions or kind of point you or whatever, just dig a little bit deeper, and you're supposed to do the talking. So this is perfect. Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, so that's what got me on the bandwagon, was watching this myself, doing my own studies, my own trials of this beautiful plant. And during my studies and during my educating myself, I found that, cannabis isn't the only plant that is here available to us that we don't know about that can do these amazing things. There's an ashwagandha farm in Portland, Oregon. I just got exposed during this process. I got exposed to the ashwagandha as well, which helps your neuro system. And I never even heard of ashwagandha before. If you know who Deepak Chopra is, he knows what ashwagandha is. He promotes it. And so it really motivated me to start finding what's available for us, what's out there that we don't have access to, that we don't have information about. Scottish thistle is another one that's an amazing cancer cure agent. You cannot find, unless you know the exact scientific name of Scottish thistle, you can't even find the reports on the studies that have been done on them. You have to know the exact name, and they're hidden. Like, it took me weeks to find the information about Scottish thistle and how it can really stop cancer cells from growing. And why, Matt? Why don't we have access to this stuff? Because there's some really big, powerful companies with a lot of money and a lot of politicians that are benefiting from it that just won't allow us as human beings to have access to it.
You know what? Let me go back just a little bit. The gateway drug that you mentioned, that's the general opinion. That's how our parents were raised, even though they might have been, part of the movement in the 70s of,
Right.
Drugs and sex and rock and roll and all that, which is even more amazing. Yeah, they were part of that, but still the system managed to handle them and just indoctrinate them and create this paradigm in their heads that this is a gateway drug. So whoever's doing heroin was probably doing marijuana before, so the marijuana led them to use heroin. And I've never heard of this expression that you said, that you now look at it as actually as an exit drug. And I think that's just really beautiful, and it's amazing. And I'm actually going to use that and spread this around, and it's got your name on it, quote by Tami,
Thank you.
This is an exit drug. Yes, beautiful. This will stick, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me back even a little bit further. You mentioned that your parents owned facilities for elderly, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And,
yes.
And you said they got these people off of the pharmaceutical meds, and it was
right.
when you were little. So they
right.
were really advanced about that stuff.
Yes, yeah, they really were. I at the time that they were doing it, I don't think they understood exactly what they were doing. They didn't have Google where they could go and, now I can go on Google and type in all the medication someone's on, and it will give me a report of what should not be mixed together. Mm-hmm. They didn't have that access back then. They just had to find another doctor that would take a look at this patient, what was going on with them, and find out what they actually could come off of slowly and healthy, and what they absolutely necessarily had to be on. And so that was the route that they were taking when I was a little girl. Was my mom and my aunt and my grandma were the ones who owned these homes, and they would take their patients to this doctor that was very natural and very open to alternative healing for people. And he would look at these poor little ladies and men and just be like, nope, not that. They need to get off of this and that and that and stay on this. And And it was beautiful to watch them come alive. You know, they'd be catatonic and be wheeled into our home on, you know, slobber coming out of their mouth. And a few days later, you know, little by little, taking that step off, their eyes would start to get life again, and they'd start to smile and have conversation. And then their family would come visit them after a few weeks and just be so happy to have their family member back.
Were they trying to use marijuana at any point at that time?
No, I really wish that it would have been available, you know, or even suggested at the time, but It wasn't even on the radar. It wasn't even on the radar. And now, you know, I've taken this to the point of helping a woman with arthritis. She was 76 years old. Couldn't even move, couldn't eat because the pain was giving her a stomach ache. She just was giving up. She didn't want to do anything but sit in her chair and watch TV because movement hurt. And so talking to her about CBD and talking to her about marijuana, no, I tried that when I was in high school and I fell asleep for days and never woke, you know, just these crazy stories. And, you know, so it takes a little convincing and a little education for them to see what's happening. And boy, she tried some CBD. It was a tincture, put it underneath her tongue. Then we sat and talked for a little bit. Then she got up and went to the kitchen. And she said, would you like something to eat? I'm feeling hungry. And I said, oh, you are? That's good news. Can you tell me what else you're feeling? And she, actually, I can move. She started doing a little dance. And then she asked me if she was high. Am I high? Is that why I'm feeling this? I said, no, it's actually the CBD in your body. Your body is probably craving it so much that you're going to get an instant reaction when you take it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have any in you. You don't have any in you at all. So when your body gets a little bit of CBD in it, it's going to benefit incredibly. And so that's what I've been doing, is just spreading it around from young people to old people. They all need to have this information, and they all need to have access to it in some way, shape, or form without the ridicule from other people. I just went to a conference in Hotel del Coronado. That's where I've been for the last 3 days. And it's a drug and alcohol conference, and the name of it's Innovations in Recovery. So innovative new ideas, what's new out there, what's different. And I was so happy to be there and be able to be free and open with my beliefs about it. You know, that testimony that I posted that brought your attention to me there, you know, I posted in my recovery pages as well. And, you know, it's almost split down the middle with the people in my industry of good. We do need this. It needs to be available. We need people to speak out, to other people saying, absolutely not. It's a gateway drug. If you get on that road, you're on a slippery road, and you're going to slip right back into your addiction. And again, Matt, that just takes me right back to, then why aren't you dealing with the core issue? The addiction that people are suffering is not the vodka. The addiction is not the heroin or the Oxycontin or the Vicodin or the crystal meth. That's not the problem. The problem, that's just what they're using to cope with the problem. There's something else going on. So if these people in recovery are talking about slippery slopes, they need to work harder on the inner stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, get down in there and start figuring out, instead of just making this across the board statement that it's the same for everybody, because it's not.
But also, if you know, you go to a regular doctor to get off the drugs, the heroin, the alcohol, or whatever, and they give you pills and they give you whatever stuff they prescribe, it makes you so numb, and it just covers more. It just puts more layers on top of the real problems. So you're never, you know, gonna dig those out and deal with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It just cuts you off from everything. Exactly. You know, and I'm not saying that opiates aren't an amazing discovery in our world. I mean, opiates allow us to go in and cut someone open and do surgery on their heart without them feeling pain. It's an amazing tool to be able to have. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, people are using it for lifetime pain management, and it wasn't, when it was created, it wasn't intended for that. It was only intended to do these amazing things for people that are in the midst of dying or needing surgery, and now people are using it for daily maintenance of pain. And if you get as natural as you possibly can, for me, I even believe that all pain is associated with some type of something. So if I'm feeling pain in my neck right here, I'll look it up. What are the emotions associated with the pain in my neck? And then I can think, okay, I gotta take a look at what is going on in my mind that's creating this for me. And not everybody feels that way. Not everyone acts that way, but that's how I believe. And I wish that we could get more doctors on board and separated from the pharmaceutical industry so they could be more focused on the individual client. What's happening with you? What's going on in your home? What's going on in your life? What's going on with you at work? What changes can we make while you're going through this? And come see me in 3 or 4 days, and we can find out if the changes you've implemented are working. They're not working? Okay, let's try something else. I mean, that's, to me, seems more...
Well, your approach is what is referred to holistic approach, right?
Right.
And it's, you have to see where the cause is, find out where the cause is, and not just take a pill to, kind of knock that out. So yeah, definitely. We need to deal with ourselves holistically. So that's absolutely true, and it makes perfect sense as well. I mean, you wouldn't, when a light that you're running out of gas pops up in your car, you don't stop and ask for a hammer to knock that out, right? But
right.
It's an indicator. So it's the same with a headache. It's the same with so many things. And we kind of take the hammer as in a shape of a pill and knock that out, right?
Right. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that one.
Okay, awesome. That's so cool. It's not mine, though. I've heard it. I heard it, just reading about this stuff. Anyway, can you tell me maybe some specific stuff? So you've mentioned you use mostly CBD. You let your clients or patients or, use that in all sorts of forms. And obviously, this is what has been my findings as well, that the more damaged people, or the people that suffer the most from either pain or whatever, they get almost an instant benefit and an instant change. They see an instant change when they use CBD. But still, tell me some specifics, like how do you dose? How do you've mentioned a little bit of that, but let's go into a little bit more details. What else? Whatever you can tell me about the dosing, because people always ask, what dosage, and they think that there's different dosage for different things, or different combinations, or something. And I tell them, why don't you just start? We give them the dosage because that's how it all starts. But we tell them, just start, and you will find your dosage along the way of, building it up. Let's build it up slowly. That's how everybody feels comfortable with. And then you'll find the exact dosage that works for you. But just listen to yourself, That's what we suggest. But also going with a full dosage right out of the gate is also a possibility, and it works, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's what's so beautiful about, as it's becoming more into the medical industry, I think that's the argument that people are having, is that it's not controlled. How do you control a dosage? How do you know how much to dose? And again, our creator gave us this beautiful plant that we can use, and you're not going to overdose from CBD. You're not going to give yourself too much. If you do, if you feel like you have, I think the most that I've witnessed anybody experience is getting tired and going to sleep. Mm-hmm. That's the most I've witnessed. I've seen, somebody take a dose of CBD and get a bunch of energy, and another person on the same day, same product, take CBD and fall asleep. So like you're saying, it's important to regulate yourself and find out what it is. You're not going to overdose from it. You can never take too much. And I think that as we go through this, and as people are learning and developing, and as government starts to make regulations on it, which they will, and they are doing right now, we just know that it's a plant. One of the things I'm seeing, Matt, is big right now is that people are in America, we're having a shortage of CBD isolate. So they're taking plants, marijuana plants and hemp plants, and they're extracting just the CBD out of that. Mm-hmm. And when they extract that CBD out of it, they're leaving behind in the plant all of these other components, mm-hmm. CBC, CBG, THCA, which is another non-psychoactive part of the plant. You know, there's mm-hmm. THC that does get you high and makes you feel really good. And then there's THCA, which is a medical component. And so what I've noticed, and what I'm becoming more and more adamant about expressing to people, is to make sure that when you're buying the CBD product, when you're purchasing it or researching it, that you're looking for a whole plant extract, because you want the whole plant. You want all those different forms of CBD, CBC, CBG, because they will affect different parts of your body. If you're buying a product that's got 1,000 milligrams of CBD isolate and it's just the CBD, then you're missing out on these other things that are good for your body. So if there's a suggestion that I could give anybody, it's when you're buying your CBD product or when you're looking for it, look for a whole plant extract,
yes.
Not just a CBD isolate.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Some refer to it as full spectrum cannabis extract or full spectrum CBD extract, because it's mostly a lot of it is CBD, but there's also other components, everything the plant has to offer. And not just cannabinoids, terpenes as well, some chlorophyll, that's what it makes it green. And, you know, they call it an entourage effect, which means that the components from the cannabis plant in the body, they're working synergistically to get the effect, to heal the body. And yes, that's what we've been noticing as well. So people using the whole plant extract or the full spectrum CBD extract, it works much better because, you know, the components are working together to help you. And the CBD isolate, people report not from our products, because our products are full spectrum or whole plant CBD extracts only, but from other sources, when we do a research or talk to other people using other products and CBD isolate, some have results and some have results that are not that significant. They can't really tell if it's working or not. So we see a lot of that. Obviously, if you know there's CBD in the product, as it's stated, even if it's CBD isolate, it's going to give you some effect. But you're like exactly what you said. You're missing out on everything else the plant has to offer. And something's also very important. You see, we've done a ton of research, not we as me or my company or whatever, but we as humans, like, you know, our society has done a ton of research. However, there are probably components in the cannabis plant that we have no idea that they even exist, you know. You know, back in the day, we used to think that atom is the smallest particle, right? And now, and then it progressed. Like we were able to make better microscopes, so we saw that actually there are smaller particles. And it's just the same with the cannabis plant. You know, there's some parts that are really researched, but there's also some parts that are, you know, that we just don't know that they exist. So, you know, by taking full spectrum or the whole plant extract, you're not getting, only the parts that are researched, but you're also getting the stuff that we don't even know that's in there, right?
Right.
And that's super important. And just like you said, God put this plant on a beautiful planet, and let's use it as naturally and as holistically and as a whole as it is.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me a little bit about all of the conditions? I guess most of your clients were, getting off of some form of drugs. You've mentioned pain, right? Can you tell me what else have you had success with?
Sure. So we've also had success, of course, with seizures. We had a girl with severe seizures. They could not figure out why. All of a sudden, she started having seizures at 24 years old every day, like 3 a day. They took her driver's license from her, diagnosed her with a form of epilepsy, and gave her a bunch of medications. She was on 5 different medications to manage it. And they were making her sick, making her feel crazy, and she was still having seizures. And so the conversation, when she came to me, the conversation I had with her was, why don't you look at the whole picture? You're being medicated, you've been given a diagnosis, and now you're being medicated for that diagnosis. And the medication that they're giving you is not stopping it. It's not changing it. And it's making you feel really bad. So why are you going to continue to do that? And, it's so hard for people to understand that, these doctors are just like us. They're not above us. They're not gods. They just went to school a little longer and studied something different than we did. And now they have to follow a protocol to get through it. And it doesn't mean that you don't know what's best for you. And I think that's one of the most important things to me, is to empower people to know, whether they're Christian or not, no matter what their belief system is, you were created and you were made by something. Something made you, and whatever made you, for me, my belief is we were made in the image of God, and He lives within us. And we have that in us to be able to be gods and goddesses, and we can create our own health, and we can be healthy, and we can call on ourselves to be healthy and heal. Our bodies can rejuvenate every day. I listened to a meditation this morning that was talking about I think it was like, he said 75% of our body rejuvenates itself every week, every month, every year. And so every year you have an upgraded version of yourself. There's only like 2 or 3 things that doesn't rejuvenate. I think it's your kidneys and a couple other things. Otherwise, everything else, your skin rejuvenates, your heart, your lungs, everything rejuvenates itself. And so we're constantly having these new versions of ourselves, right? Every time we do this. And so we have the ability to heal. And if we have the assistance of these plants. Anyways, back to the girl with the epilepsy. She started on CBD. She has not had a seizure since she started CBD. Not one. And she would come to me with her eyes swollen, scratches all over her face from falling and hitting tables, knocking her teeth out. It was horrible what she was going through. And with the access of this plant, she has not had one, Matt, not one seizure. So you've got seizures that it helps with, neurological disorders. The lady I was telling you about with arthritis, one of the major things that I've seen happen is people that have alcohol problems, when they go to their doctor and express that they're dealing with alcohol, the first thing they prescribe is Xanax to help with the anxiety. Anxiety is a big thing that people go through that they don't know how to manage. Their heart starts pounding. They think they're having a heart attack. They don't understand what's happening. Their body's reacting to something, and they don't know why. Most of the time, anxiety and panic attacks come on from a subconscious level, not a conscious level. And so in your conscious mind, you're not aware of what's happening. Like, what's going on? Am I dying? Am I having a heart attack? And the doctors are giving them Xanax, which is a very powerful benzodiazepine that is horrible to get off of. And so what I see with alcoholics is they get that medication along with some others, maybe something else for seizures to make sure they don't have a seizure. When you come off alcohol, it's very dangerous, and you could die from a seizure from coming off of alcohol. So doctors will just prescribe these things. And I don't know about you and your experience, but for me and my experience in this world, most alcoholics aren't just going to stop. they're an alcoholic because they can't stop drinking. And so when they go to a doctor and ask for help and he gives them a couple of these pills, what happens is they continue drinking and take these pills.
Which is not a good idea. No.
Which is not a good idea. It's just compounded the problem like insanely. And so, you know, I've seen the people that I've worked with that have alcohol issues, I ask them to just stop the medications first. You know, if you can't stop the alcohol, which I know you can't or we wouldn't be talking, if you can't stop that, just stop the medications first and switch to CBD. Switch to the CBD, even switch to medical marijuana at night. Instead of having your bottle of wine at night, try some medical marijuana and see if it puts you to sleep and you have a really good night's sleep. That's what I've been seeing major results with, is people that have alcohol issues coming back to me and saying, nothing's worked my whole life. Like, nothing has helped me be able to sleep at night. Nothing else has helped me not freak out and feel like I'm dying of a heart attack except for this. And it just empowers me even more to keep going. So we've got arthritis, anxiety, alcoholism, depression, epilepsy,
pain.
What else?
Yeah.
Pain. The pain is huge. The pain is huge, especially for people. I'm working with a guy right now that was a contractor, painting contractor for many years, and he fell off a ladder, broke his back, has been in the hospital, paralyzed down one side. He makes sure he does not run out of the CBD. The reason why he got in contact with me was they had him on a bunch of medications for his leg. One of the muscles would twitch all the time. I don't know what the name of that medication was that would keep the twitching from happening, but he had that medication. He also had a muscle relaxant and pain medication. The pain medication they were giving him had to be signed off by 3 doctors. And then all of a sudden, probably about 2 months ago, they ran out of it and he couldn't get it. Mm-hmm. And he's sweating. He's got all these stomach issues. He's throwing up. He's going through withdrawals because they can't provide him with his medication they prescribed him. And he's been on it for probably a year. So it was a perfect opportunity. I told him, please don't push getting it anymore. Just let it go. Focus on the CBD. Maybe progress yourself to some THC if you're in a lot of pain, because that's one thing that I've been able to help educate people with is the CBD works great on its own. It's an amazing product. You don't have to have THC to make it work. But if you do incorporate a little bit of THC in with that CBD, it's going to be more effective for your body. Like we're talking about that full spectrum. Like THC,
absolutely.
Yeah, it is part of it, and it could work so much better if you have it. And so this guy he's taken himself down. He stopped with that pain medication and switched completely to CBD. The CBD is working so well with him, like he makes sure he never runs out. He makes sure he gets it ahead of time so he's not without. And now he's off the muscle relaxer and he's off the medication that keeps him from twitching. So he's off of 3 medications and completely on CBD, and he takes probably about, we were talking about dosing. Mm-hmm. It's a good question, because someone asked me the other day, if you have a bottle of 1,000 milligrams CBD, when you take 1 dose, are you getting 1,000 milligrams of CBD in your dose? And it's a really good question because I don't know exactly the answer to that.
Okay.
I just know that. Yeah. Do you know the answer?
Yes. Although it might be different with different brands, with different products. But generally speaking, and the way we have it set up is the product has, let me generally describe this. Okay. So there's sometimes there's a percentage. It would say that it's 4%, which would mean that there's 4% CBD in the whole bottle, and there's most of the times there's the amount of the CBD, for example, 1,000 milligrams. It means that there's this much CBD in the whole bottle. So let's say that, the bottle is 10 milliliters, which is about 200 drops, if it's with a dropper. So if it's about 200, maybe 220 drops, you have to divide 1,000 milligrams into 220 drops, and then you get how much of the CBD is in each drop. And that's
Okay.
how you would add everything together. So, there's, I don't know, 20 milligrams of CBD in each drop, or actually 2 milligrams of CBD in each drop, or 1.5 or something like that. So you take 10 drops, it equals to about 10 or 20 milligrams of CBD. And that's
Okay.
how you go about it. Recommended dose, like you said, even if it's a full spectrum, which means that usually it contains just a little bit of the THC, which it doesn't get you high because there's not enough of it. There's just enough so your body gets it. And most of the times that's enough for the synergistic effect of all the cannabinoids. Although what you suggest with a little bit more THC is at evenings, at nights, is to get you a better sleep, maybe. Even though CBD, the full spectrum and all that, can get you, can get you a perfect sleep. Some people, it boosts their energy. Exactly what you suggested. With some people, it's they're full of energy. With some people, they go to sleep.
Right.
So those people that are full of energy, they might need a little bit more THC. Sometimes that means, smoking a joint or whatever, or vaping it, or getting an edible, which has more THC, which is fine. And that puts you in a very relaxed state, and you have a good night's sleep, and your body is moves into a deeper sleep, which just means that you get a more regeneration, kind of, going on.
Right.
Anyway, you suggested a few other things, like beside cannabis, besides CBD. You suggested quite a few other things. Are these things, though, the ones that you are also trying on your clients?
Yes, absolutely. So the Scottish thistle, I've just been incorporating into their smoothies. So, a nice green smoothie, put some of that in there. And then the ashwagandha I'm using in a tincture. And, my dream is to hopefully find a nice combination of everything that will work. One of the biggest stories I have about CBD is from a place in Portland as well, Oregon. They started using phytocannabinoid rich CBD. And so this phytocannabinoid rich CBD, they call it the Holy Grail. And so there was a man in Idaho that was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he was a friend of a friend's, and he was devastated. So we got him this full spectrum, as full spectrum as well, but it was the phytocannabinoid rich PCR CBD, and they had it in a salve, and they also had it in a tincture form. Mm-hmm. So he was taking the tincture and probably a whole bottle every day, drinking the whole bottle. So 1,000 milligrams a day of drinking it. Then he was taking the salve, the CBD salve, and he was putting it in a suppository right up against his prostate. And he was doing that like 3 times a day. He was also eating the salve because the salve also had other things in it. And his doctors were going crazy on him, Matt. And he was calling us and telling us, I'm getting scared. They're telling me that I'm going to die if I don't do their treatments, and I don't want to do their treatments. I want to try the CBD first and see if it makes a difference. So he was fighting with them constantly about not coming in and doing chemotherapy and not coming in and letting them take parts of his body out. And so on his 6-week checkup, when he went into his oncologist, his levels of protein that were in, that's how they diagnosed the prostate cancer, were down to below normal. And the doctor was just shocked. He said it's a miracle. And before the 6 weeks was up, he was telling him, you're going to die. I don't recommend this. I'm very upset with you. You're putting yourself at risk for something that's not been proven to work. And so he went in and said, look what I did. look what I did. I did this myself with CBD, and is it an option? Is that something that you can offer people? And the doctor said no. He told him no.
Yes. Well, it all comes, they kind of, it all comes back to what they say, that there's not enough research being done. But the thing is that for the pharmaceutical industry, there will never be enough research done, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that the pills have their way of, researching it and proving it that it either works or it doesn't work, and have a group with placebo, they have a group without with nothing, and they have a group with whatever real pills they made. But there are these methods are not good enough. They're not meant to research stuff like CBD or cannabis. It's not, the process is not meant to do that. You can't have a double-blind study and stuff like that with this. But forget about that. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that the phytocannabinoids that you described are these is what's in the cannabis plant. So the cannabis plant has cannabinoids, and they're called phytocannabinoids because they're made outside of our body, and our body, which also makes cannabinoids. I don't know if you knew that.
Right.
Maybe,
yes.
You know that, right?
Right.
And these are called endocannabinoids. So yeah, the full spectrum or the whole plant's extract is full of cannabinoids, and those are.
And our bodies were designed to receive it.
Exactly.
Our bodies were designed to receive it.
Yes, exactly. So it's a perfect combination, but we just people have to change their minds about it and do a little bit more research on everything. One more question. So your clients, they probably have a lifestyle that led them to have those issues. Do you work on those as well?
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't believe that it's one thing that causes someone to have cancer. It's not one thing that's creating addiction issues with people, or one thing that made someone end up with arthritis. I don't believe that that is the case. I believe it's a lifetime of behavioral patterns. It's a lifetime of thinking. Our thoughts, I believe, create a lot of that for us, and a lifetime of bad eating. The main thing I really start working on with people is that we're all vibrational beings, right? Everything that is matter is vibrating. It's a vibration of energy, and the vibration of energy makes it into a solid form of matter. And so if we can start there and know that you're a vibrating being and you're working on a frequency just like a TV or a radio is, that's what you're working on right now. You can fine tune yourself and your vibration, your frequency to a level that is responding to the universe, responding to God, responding to our earth. And let's start there. Let's start with that frequency and start changing that. And once we can get into focusing on a vibration, and then let's move on to start with your thoughts. What are your thoughts doing for you the day? Are you aware that you are in control of your mind and that your mind's not in control of you? Are you aware of the person that you're talking to in your mind, who that is and what that voice is, and that you're having a dialogue with somebody who is yourself, and teaching them those things and moving beyond that. So it's, it's mental, it's physical. What are you eating? What are you sleeping on? What kind of linens are you putting on your body? What kind of toxins are you allowing to be in your life on a daily basis, and how can you change it? And so it goes across everything. You've got to change your behavior, you've got to change your thoughts, you've got to change the way you eat, the way you dress, and where you sleep, because we've just been born into a society where everything is, especially in America, everything is process. And those are chemicals, and you're putting all those chemicals in your body. We're sleeping on beds that have these huge coils in them that are energy conductors that are sucking the energy out of your body and are made with toxic chemicals for you to sleep on. And we sleep, you know, if we're lucky, we get to sleep 8 hours a day. I know you don't. But if we're lucky, we get to sleep 8 hours a day on these things, and they need to be beneficial to our body and supporting us in a healthy way. Our shoes, I read a beautiful article the other day about grounding and how people are suffering for so much inflammation in their bodies now because we are disconnected from the earth. We're wearing shoes that are made of plastic and rubber and not leather or wood, and we're not being grounded to our earth outside. And there was a huge study done. I'll send you the link in a Facebook message later, Matt, but there's a study done that when people go outside, they did these studies where they showed the images on their legs of all the inflammation that they were suffering. And then they go outside, and the results from putting their feet on the earth, in the ground, were instant for them, for the inflammation to start going down in their legs, because there's energy in that earth that our body needs, and we're not getting it. And especially our children are. Our children are so protected, we don't let them outside barefoot hardly at all, ever. Mm-hmm. You know, and then they go to school and they're playing on asphalt, and they're not able to touch our earth. You know, we send them to sports and they're covered and protected everywhere so they don't get hurt, but we're still disconnecting them. That's why people still feel so amazing when they go to the beach and they're walking on the sand, they're barefoot walking on the sand. All of a sudden they're having all of that interaction from our earth. And so for me, it's a whole life change. It's not just about taking CBD and cannabis and it changes your life. It will change your life immediately once you start it. But imagine if you take a look and you go within and you start changing everything in your life, and you really start taking a stand for yourself and your family about what you're going to allow in your body and in your home as far as toxins are concerned.
Yes, absolutely. And also exercise is important. You know, we don't do that. We don't do nearly enough of that.
Right.
And imagine, not even 100 years ago, or I don't know, 200 years ago, everybody was very physical. Everybody had to work in some sort of form. Today,
just to survive.
Yeah, and that was a very short time ago, like 50 years ago. You know, everybody was working on their backyard, planting stuff in the ground, growing vegetables, and, you know, picking apples. I don't know. There was a whole lot of that going on. You know, fast forward 50 years, like you said, everything's processed. We sit on a chair or on the couch or in the car for almost the entire day.
Right.
And of course,
we even go to the grocery store and our oranges are peeled for us and our pineapples are cut for us. Like, we don't even have to cut or peel our own vegetables and fruit anymore. They do it for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we have to change that. And but there's also, you know, we're kind of used to being comfortable, right? So it's you know, not that easy. Plus, you have to, these days in our Western society, you have a ton of stuff to do, you know. So it's comfortable to have all that, but we need to move a little bit away from that as well. And you know what? You've mentioned we are disconnected from Earth, and I have to mention this to you, which is interesting. I use shoes that are called barefoot shoes, which mimic the you know, kind of if you were barefoot. So they're not narrow, but they're in the shape of your feet, and they have a really thin sole, so that you actually feel, when you walk, you feel whatever it is that you're walking on. Yeah, you just feel all the stones, you feel the terrain. They some of those shoes are made from leather, but some of those shoes are still made of rubber just to protect your
Right.
feet. But still, much more connected with earth because you actually feel everything that you're walking on. So that's really amazing. I'll send you a link. Check it out.
Okay, I love that.
It's
Cool.
awesome, and I cannot put other shoes on because it seems like I'm restraining my feet, like, kind of squeezing them together, and
Oh,
it's
yes.
yeah. It's I got so used to that, and I'm really trying to be as much barefoot as I possibly can. Anyway, Tami,
Thank
this
you.
has been a fantastic interview.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to get to connect with you and so happy to be a part of anything that's going to help mankind and our humanity be better and evolve. I really believe that with everything that's happening in all of our countries, for humanity, I see the shift, and I think that the more that we can get our messages out there and the more that we can come and unify our beliefs and unify, breaking these old systems that aren't serving humans anymore. There's a lot of things that have been put into place that were put into place before we even had a choice whether we wanted to participate in it or not. We're at a time now where we're able to really come together and make a difference and help people evolve and spread a different type of message.
Do you think that a revolution is, either going on or just about to start, or and the cannabis might be the kind of the center point that's gonna I don't know, make us as humans vibrate at a different, higher level?
Yes, I do. I really do. I believe that the absence of cannabis has kept us stuck in a time and an age of suppression, and that I believe that the cannabis movement is that catalyst that's going to really take us to a higher level of consciousness as humankind. We're going to be able to stop the constant chatter in our mind. I mean, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about cannabis is it brings you to the present moment, and it helps you stop the constant chatter in your mind that's telling you you're not good enough, you got to do more, giving you your to-do list all day, narrating every experience for you. Like, I don't know why our mind decides to tell us, oh, wow, look, that's a flower, when you already know it's a flower, so why does your mind have to narrate it for you at 40 years old? It's just part of us being able to control ourselves and control our minds. And so, yeah, I believe that there is a revolution happening and going to happen. Any Bob Marley song you listen to, you think, that was going on back then, and it feels like we're experiencing it now. But I think now with our technology, like I was praising earlier, technology is so beautiful. I know it disconnects us, and we're going to have a huge generation of kids with huge thumbs from using their phone, or their shoulders are going to be humped over from being on their phones. But I love technology because what it does is it gives us access to information that we would have never had before. And this might have been, and like we were talking in the beginning of this, time really isn't real. You're on a whole nother day than I am right now, and yet we are in the moment with each other. But it's Friday for you and it's Thursday for me, so how is that happening?
Oh, yeah.
So time really isn't real, and this revolution's probably been going on for a long, long time, but we're at a place now where we have access to information. We can share the information with each other very quickly, and we can make a statement about things and change things if we want, if we get enough people to really believe in it and really sign up for it and release themselves from the fear that has been implemented into all of us.
So you're saying that we should definitely use the technology, like with awareness that we have to use it for the good, and be aware that it can also kind of deviate to the bad. And if we're aware of that, then we can, kind of only use it for the good.
Right. Yeah.
And there is a cannabis movement and revolution going on these days. Very much so. I mean, people are going away from the prescription drugs, from the pharmaceutical drugs, and using cannabis because everybody really sees that it does a whole lot of good for, just about every possible thing.
Everything.
Yes.
When you go to the dispensaries here in California, you're sitting in the waiting room, and you're not sitting in a waiting room with a bunch of young adults trying to get high for the day. You're sitting next to a woman in a wheelchair with an oxygen mask, an older man that just got out of a business meeting. There's a whole wide range of who is partaking in cannabis. I don't believe there's a stigma that you can give on it anymore, that it's just a stoner, lazy stoner sitting on their couch, I always get perplexed when someone calls me a hippie, because I feel like it's a stigma to be called a hippie, like you're someone who doesn't really care, and I'm at the point of kind of accepting it as a compliment that I'm a hippie instead of being offended by it. But there's a beautiful way to heal. It's all natural. We have healing available to us on every level on this planet. We don't need a doctor to give it to us, and we don't need a pill to give it to us. And we can cure ourselves by the grace of God and by what He gives us on this planet to sustain ourselves. It's here, it's available, and you don't have to subscribe or believe in everything that a doctor or a healthcare professional is going to tell you.
Yes, because their knowledge is limited,
mm-hmm.
and
controlled.
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap it up on that note. I'm very grateful for this. Thank you so much for being on our show. People will get so much out of this interview. You've given us so much information, so much experience, so much details that there's a lot of people gonna find themselves in these stories, and I'm sure it's gonna, move some people towards actually trying the cannabis plant and the CBD for whatever they have to, use it for to treat what they have. So anyway, thanks so much.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much, and blessings to you and your family. And I hope you have a good night's rest on your Friday as I wrap up my Thursday over here in America.
What a great story about making a difference and helping people. Thank you, Tami, for sharing your knowledge. Now, if you have any questions, simply ask in the comments below or send us an email to support@CuredByNature.org. If you like this video, don't forget to give it thumbs up. For more content just like this, subscribe and follow us. Please help us spread this knowledge and share this video. I am Matt. Thanks for watching.